Hey guys, hey. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you. I am Ama. I want to say hi to everyone first. Ashley will be joining us momentarily. Ashley, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you, guys. I am Ama. I am the owner of Incredibites, which is an all natural Atlanta based baby food company that delivers. But more importantly, I am so honored to be the host for Pregnancy Beyond TV. And thank you guys so much for joining. Yay! Thank you. Um, Today, we are discussing healing diastasis recti, prolapse, and also the pelvic floor. So, we're going to be covering topics like the relationship of the diaphragm to the pelvic floor. We're going to talk about tips for a healthier pelvis floor. We're going to talk about proactive and safe exercising strategies. I'm so excited to hear this stuff because I'm a mom as well and I struggle with those things. So we are going to have Ashley join in right now. She is here. She is a postpartum corrective exercise specialist. So let's go ahead and get Ashley joined in now. Let's see.
How's
Hey,
it going?
good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Sorry about all the tech issues. Gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Instagram does not want us to be great, but we said no, it's going to happen. So thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Happy
Thank
to
you,
be here.
thank you, thank you. How's the day going for you so far?
It's good. I'm in Arizona, so it's a little bit crazy here.
Ooh,
Everybody's
yes, it
like,
is.
it's like COVID land and our mountains are on fire, but we're all,
Oh, I didn't know about the mountains.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So it's like the one time
Wow.
with the kids, it's like literally on fire. I'm just like, what is with 2020?
God. So you guys, I'm assuming staying indoors and staying safe.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you?
I'm well. It's pouring here, but you know what? I'll take that.
Where are you?
So I'm here in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here in Atlanta.
So
So
you have
the weather's
humidity.
terrible. What do you say?
You have humidity. We don't have any humidity. It's like so dry here. Yeah.
It is so hot today where the sky just opened up, and that's okay. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait to hear everything you have to say. Like I was saying, I'm a mom. I work out, but sometimes I don't see the results I'm expecting. I was that mom who wanted to hurry up and get back to working out so I can get that snatch back. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, and like our culture, I think, is so predicated around like bouncing back, and we just think like, oh, we'll just like go right back into it, and it'll be all good. And it's like one of those things is it turns out it's like you can't will it, right? It's like it takes strategy, and I didn't know, and it's actually I changed professions. So I was like, I had twins 6 years ago, and I was like, every woman needs to know how to fix herself because it's just like there's such little information out there for the athletic mom who wants to work out and heal. So I
Yes, congratulations on your twins. Congratulations. That's amazing. 6 years ago, super mom. Oh my gosh. But you said it perfectly, like the athletic mom, because for some reason we have this notion in our head like we worked out before baby, so our bodies will bounce right back and we'll be able to work out after baby right away, right? So,
Right.
yes, thank you for switching careers. Absolutely. So, yeah, let's get started.
Yeah. So what do you want to know? Where do you want me to start?
Well, let's start with the relationship of the diaphragm to the pelvis floor. So
Okay.
let's say we had baby, post baby, now what?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Everybody grab your coffee. I'm going to be a minute. Okay, so you've got your diaphragm that sits up here underneath your rib cage, and then underneath you've got your pelvic floor, which is like a bowl. So they're kind of like two bowls stacked on top of one another. So they look a lot like this. Now, ideally, every time you inhale, your diaphragm pushes down. It's like a dome shape, but it pushes down as you inhale, and that causes your pelvic floor to relax. So it's almost like a piston on a train. Like inhale, relax, and as we exhale, it lifts. So a lot of women have issues with like incontinence when they're jumping or running or sneezing. And if you know that you can time your breath with your pelvic floor, it's a total game changer, because for obvious reasons, if you're jumping, you want the pelvic floor lifting as you're jumping, right? So you want to be exhaling as you jump, because that cues your pelvic floor. It's actually really reactive to your breath. And so ideally, you're going to have this symbiotic relationship where you inhale, it relaxes, you exhale, it comes up. Now, what happens when we have babies, and I honestly think it happens long before we have babies, is we kind of like suck in, especially postpartum, right? Because we're self-conscious of our bellies. And so we like suck in and hold our breath and hold our guts in. And what happens when we put a cinch in that breath pattern is we start breathing up into our chest. And so it looks a lot like this. So you guys who are viewing, take a look in the mirror and watch yourself take an inhale. See what your shoulders do. If you see them rise up, your chest breathing, and that's totally backwards of how humans are supposed to breathe. And what that does is it creates like an anxiety response in our body. So you might actually find you're like anxious and tense throughout the day because you're breathing backwards. And so we have to first like learn to let go, and that is so hard for so many postpartum women. I'm like, girl, you gotta like just breathe. You gotta let it go. You gotta let your tummy go. You can't grip it and hold it. And once you learn that when you breathe down into your body, so you have to change that pattern. So instead of this, which is going to create a tight pelvic floor, anxiety, you might find like neck pain or headaches. Once you learn to get that breath down, so inhale, it goes down into your tummy, like expands your ribs, relaxes your pelvic floor. Total game changer. But it takes practice. It's the most annoying thing to fix.
I'm sitting here doing it right now. So, so is it almost like a yoga breath? Like if you're in yoga, like the way you inhale, exhale for yoga or Pilates or something like that?
Yeah, it's similar. So, I mean, have you ever watched a baby breathe? Like,
yes.
Watch a small child breathe, and you'll see their tummy rise and fall.
Yes.
Rise and fall. And that's our natural breath. So it's not even like specific to yoga. Like, yes, you learn that skill or you reunite with that skill in yoga or Pilates. But that is how we were meant to breathe just as humans, but we lose it. And also when we're pregnant, there's a real, you're getting smushed. The diaphragm is being pushed up by a baby. Like, like it's like heartburn and you're like, I can't barely breathe. And that's why a baby's pushing that diaphragm. So that's another reason we kind of lose that connection.
Got it. Makes total sense. Thank you. So, of course, people sent in questions, and we'll definitely go over that. But I know another thing we wanted to talk about is proactive, safe exercising strategies postpartum.
Yeah. So it's like what we were talking about when we first got on the call. Like, we just think like, oh, we're just gonna jump back in. Like, I'm gonna just like nail these lifts and like no problem, and I'm gonna go out for a run and lose this baby weight. I'll never forget, just to share a little personal story. I went to my 6-week checkup after my twins, and I was like, I can do sit-ups and crunches and everything. And the doctor was like the OBGYN was like, yeah, have at it. And so of course, what do you think I do? I go home and I do sit-ups because I want to lose my postpartum pooch. And it turns out that's the worst thing you can do. So that's my little PSA to you. Like, right out the gate when you're working on, I'm not saying avoid crunches forever, because we're humans. Like, we sit up, right? When you get out of bed, you sit up. So you're gonna want to practice sitting up eventually, but you're gonna start not doing any kind of flexion of the spine. So that's this, like crunches, sit-ups. And what happens when we do this is the rectus bellies, which are your six-pack abs. We've got six-pack abs on the outside. Underneath, we have this whole abdominal system that runs this way. So your six-pack abs run on the sides. They run down the front, but they're 2 3-packs. And underneath, you've got kind of like shoelaces. They wrap like this. It's the body's natural corset. And that's your transverse abdominis. And so when you're postpartum, what needs to heal is the transverse abdominis needs to be coming together, because you've got this connective tissue that runs between those six-pack abs. And when we're pregnant, the body's super smart. And the body's like, hey, let's make room for baby. And so it stretches. Think about silly putty, like pulling a thing of silly putty.
Right.
like it gets thin, right? Like the more you pull and stretch that silly putty, the thinner it gets. Same thing with that connective tissue. And so we have a baby and it's not like, oh, we're gonna like bounce right back and snap back. So we need those strong muscles to like force that tissue and give it an environment to heal. Otherwise, we might end up with diastasis recti, right? And that's a separation of those six-pack muscles on the outside. And the issue with diastasis recti is like if you have a lingering postpartum pooch, you know, that just won't quit. You're like, I've lost all the weight. I don't understand what's happening. Right. It's often diastasis recti. And so, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would love to know, because I've had friends with that. Like, what are some things, and there were times where they felt really defeated, right? Because they had lost all their baby weight and they felt great, but they still had this pooch where they had never had a pooch ever in their life. Right. So it's like, what exercises they can do to help resolve that?
Yeah. And so there's not like a one size fits all. It's really like how you do an exercise is what matters. And that's why I coach breathing. Like I make, even on my Instagram stories, I have a tab that's just called core breathing. So that teaches you how to engage those deep muscles so that you can do most exercises. But the exercises you want to avoid while you're working on healing are anything where you're doing like flexion of the spine. Full planks can be really hard because gravity, let's get real, gravity is, you know, not our best friend after babies, right? So, so the full prone position can be really hard. So push-ups, planks, things like that. And again, not forever, just until you're healed a little bit more. And then rotation exercises can put a lot of strain on the tummy.
Okay.
Exercises you want to do to be proactive. I love exercises with resistance bands. With like the little yoga ball, you'll see me, and I have so many exercises on there to help that. But what my mission is, and I always do like voiceovers on my videos, is to get you to exhale, right? And to fire those deep abs so that when you're doing the hard part of the exercise, you're facilitating that healing.
Got it. That is so helpful. And for those of you who are watching, her Instagram is @GetMomStrong, correct?
Yeah, thanks. Yep.
So, yes, please go look at some of those exercises. I know I will be as well. Now, is it pretty much the same for women who have had C-sections? Same type of exercises apply?
Yeah, so when you have a C-section, I think it's so common we kind of write it off as like, oh, it's not really a big deal. But a C-section is a major prenatal surgery. So I had two. So I'm like, you know, it's legit. So the most important thing with a C-section is, so you get adhesions, right? Unless you're doing some scar massage. So about 4 to 6 weeks when that scar's started to heal over, you're gonna want to start doing some gentle scar massage. Adhesions are kind of like little spider webs. They just grab onto whatever inside your body and can cause like pulling sensations. So those of you who had a C-section, if you ever like stood up really fast and been like, oh gosh, what? That's probably an adhesion. So breaking up that adhesion allows your abdominal muscles to work how they're supposed to. And it's super gross. Like I could not touch my C-section scar for forever. It was like, but you got to get over it and just like work toward making that connection and massaging it, because it will release those adhesions and allow your abs to work more functionally.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So we talked about tips for a healthier pelvic floor. I know you mentioned like the breathing, types of exercises, anything else for our viewers that could like get off this call right now and start doing something about that pelvic floor?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, breathing is the most important thing, but the first thing I want you to do is just make connections. I think that's the hard part, is like even finding those muscles. Like after we've had a baby, we're like, what even is happening down there? And so I cue you, like if you watch the breathing, like how to find your pelvic floor too. Like your pelvic floor is part of that breath. So you inhale, like this is what I want everyone to do. I want you to sit in front of a mirror, place your hands on your rib cage, and take a really big inhale down. And it's hard. Like you might do it in front of a mirror because you're gonna see if your shoulders, I don't want your shoulders moving at all. So inhale, those ribs open and expand. Exhale, let me show you. I'm gonna show you guys all get to see my twin skin. Okay, but as you exhale, and this is the key, you're gonna pull your tummy in and up. So inhale, let it go, exhale. So you're lifting pelvic floor, belly goes in and up. And that you can do anywhere. You can do it side lying while you're feeding the baby. You can do that while you're driving a car. You can do it right now while you're listening to this. So just practice that, like tightening those corset muscles. It's game changer. Swear. I'm always like, it'll change your whole life.
Yeah, my hands are on my ribs right now while you're saying it, and I'm doing it, and it feels very different than what I'm accustomed to doing, but you really do feel like the ribs expanding.
Yeah.
And then exhaling, I feel my ribs like really, my abs really contracting in. So like how long or how many should you do?
I mean, if you can practice it on and off for a total of like 10 minutes a day, that's awesome.
That's doable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
super doable.
Nature. So then when you go to pick your baby up off the ground or you go to deadlift a weight, you automatically breathe in, exhales, you pick up your baby, and those abs fire. And so it becomes just your new way of being, but it takes retraining the brain. And I always tell people, I'm like, it's not sexy. It's not like, ooh, like 5-minute plank challenge to get ripped, but it's what works.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I know some of our followers sent in questions.
Yeah.
So one of those questions are, will strengthening my core improve my sex life after having a baby?
It will. Fun fact. Okay. So your pelvic floor is responsible for your orgasm. So yeah, that's your biggest, like, orgasm is a pelvic floor contraction. It's the biggest pelvic floor contraction. So that's what. So when you know how to use your pelvic floor, guess what? Like, it's not just a game changer for picking up your kids. Like, it's a game changer in bed too. And it's gonna help you not only climax, but have a better intensity of orgasm. And if you've got pain or dysfunction, it can be a sign that you're not relaxing your pelvic floor. So also seeing like a pelvic floor physical therapist, I always recommend, like if anybody's watching and they've had painful sex postpartum, because that's really common too, pelvic floor physical therapy can really help assess what's going on. So don't be afraid to explore it because sex should feel good.
Right. No, that's amazing. It's so interesting, like how everything's so connected in the body.
It is, right? Yeah, no, I've had a lot of women who, like, after they've gone through and done, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I can feel it down there. Like, it's,
right.
Yeah, so.
It's really great to hear because I know, again, friends that are moms, we've all talked about it, like sex postpartum, it almost can be like a tear to your confidence because you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, I used to be good at this. Like, I'm not. You know? So
yeah. A lot. It's been a lot.
Absolutely.
And you're tired. And then if you're breastfeeding, like, your hormones are totally different. And it's like dry like the Sahara Desert down there. Like, I'm just going to say it because it's like, and it won't be that way forever, but while you're nursing, it changes the health down there of your.
Absolutely. And a lot of women are like scared to talk about it. So this is great. Thank you. Another question, what tips would you give in rebuilding your core postpartum? So you've discussed that, but anything else that you feel like you're following for now?
So it's really about listening to your body and watching what's going on with your body. So I want to talk about like some signs and symptoms that maybe your body's not happy with the exercise that you're doing. So if you're doing an exercise and you notice a ridge or like a cone-shaped dome coming out of your tummy between your six-pack muscles, that's a sign that your body does not like that exercise. That is diastasis recti, right? So your abdominal muscles are separated and that tissue's thin. And so if you're not able to manage that pressure in your core, say, like for me, a pull-up was the last thing I could get with keeping my core. I could do a pull-up, like I could do it physically, but I couldn't do it without seeing that doming. And if you're seeing that doming, that means your body's like, hey girl, I don't want to do this. Like, we're doing it wrong. We need to back it up. And it's not, again, not forever, but let's back it up and get stronger. And then we'll do it again in a different way. The other thing is if you ever feel any pain or pressure in your pelvic floor, That's not a good sign either. You want to avoid that exercise and again, regress it until you can progress it. And then leaking. Like a lot of women postpartum are like, oh, I went for a run, I peed a little, or I did this HIIT class, boot camp, and I peed, and like, I better wear black leggings. And I'm like, no. Like, if you're peeing, we gotta fix it first. And once you address the issue and can learn to use the pelvic floor, and again, it means doing the boring stuff first, which is, I literally like tell women right out the gate, I'm like, it's boring, but we gotta do it.
Absolutely. Next question. How can I safely close diastasis recti after a C-section?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about that. So scar massage is going to help facilitate that healing a little bit more. And you just need a couple minutes a day. So like for me, I do it when I get out of the shower. It's the easiest time. I just have made it a habit. There's some great videos online. I've got some posts too. And just massaging that C-section scar to break up adhesions is really important. And then the next thing is, again, avoiding the exercises where you see your diastasis recti protruding, because that's going to just put constant tension out. And then doing the exercises with the breath, like, so you have to take it back and learn the boring stuff. And then the last piece would be posture. After we have a baby, we typically get in two positions. So we typically get in either like the butt out, arched boobs, you know, like you're sticking it out there, or we butt tuck to compensate for lack of core. So you're either like this or like this. And so we really want to find that neutral spine and think about stacking those poles, like I talked about, being at the diaphragm and the pelvic floor, because they work much better. If you're like this, you've got this jumping forward, you're not going to be able to engage your pelvic floor in the same way. So we really want to think about stacking ourselves upright.
Awesome. And one last question. Best tips for improving incontinence after pregnancy?
Okay. So this is going to blow some people's minds, but you can have incontinence for two reasons, and it's important to know which one it is because they're totally opposite of each other. You can either have it from a hypertonic pelvic floor, that's a tight pelvic floor. And essentially the way I like to describe this is if you imagine, like, say your pelvic floor is a muscle, just like a bicep. So say you're walking around like this, holding, and then someone puts a weight in your hand, that's your sneeze, or that's your cough, or that's running. It gives out. Like the muscle's like, I am so tired, I've been holding like this all day and I can't do it anymore. So as soon as you have pressure, it just gives out. Same thing with your pelvic floor. So if you're gripping your pelvic floor, holding it tight, this can happen a lot postpartum, especially if you've had some pelvic floor issues and you just want to hold it. So you're like, you know, you're so worried about leaking that you're actually gripping. And then the other reason is, of course, having a weak pelvic floor. So totally opposite problem. And so seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist can be really helpful to determine which one of those you have. And some ways to tell, like if you're constipated, if you're doing that backwards breathing problem, there's a pretty good chance, you know, if you're just kind of like type A, that you've got a tight pelvic floor versus a weak pelvic floor. But it does change your game plan, right? So if you've got a tight pelvic floor, you want to focus on lengthening and relaxing and really nailing that inhale. And then if you've got a weak pelvic floor, you really want to focus on the Kegel, right? You want to focus on lifting the pelvic floor. So that's why I have to bring up both, because it is important to figure out which category you fall in. And then if you have stress incontinence, which is like running, jumping, like say you don't really leak just throughout the day, but you know, go jump on the trampoline with your kids and you're like, oh snap, like, why am I wet? It's really important to learn, again, to exhale before you jump. So I'll give an example, like a box jump. Like if you're taking like a plyometric class and you're going to jump, you want to inhale. So you inhale here, exhale, and that triggers your pelvic floor to jump up and support you so that, you know, you're not bearing down.
Amazing. Hey guys, let's show some love to Ashley because she is dropping the nuggets, okay? Let's show some love. This is amazing, amazing. So we are going to see if anyone else has questions? Let's see, let's see. Any questions from the audience?
Obviously, I'm
Yes.
not shy. Ask what you need.
Yeah, this is really, really great. Like, I just think about the conversations that we have, like, amongst ourselves as friends, and things aren't just back to normal like we expected, and it's a reason behind it. And your explanations are in layman's terms, so anyone can understand it and apply it. So, thank you so much for that.
And
Thank you, thank you,
for
thank
being
you.
part of the conversation, and like those of you at home too, talking to your friends too. Like, I think we think it's normal to feel a certain way postpartum, and like we just have to deal with it, and you don't. And that's the piece. Like, after I had my twins, I was like, why is nobody telling us we can fix this stuff? Like, it's like, hello, we can totally do something about it. So if you're at home and you have diastasis recti or prolapse or discomfort, like, see someone.
Yeah. How long did it take you to feel quote unquote back to normal?
3 years. It took a long time.
Okay.
I was a
Okay.
CrossFit athlete before I had my twins. Like, I actually
Oh,
competed
wow.
in
Yeah.
regionals, like, and so I just assumed like I would be fine after I had them. And it honestly took until I had full core strength about 3 years. But I mean, it got better gradually. But
Of
it's a
course.
process. And that's the other thing, is like, to expect your bounce back to be like 6 weeks is just not realistic for a lot of us. And some people have babies. I don't want to scare people who are pregnant. Like, some people have babies, no problems. Like, my firstborn, totally fine. And and that's why, like, I also created, in addition to my postpartum program, a pregnancy program, and I did it in conjunction with a pelvic floor physical therapist, because I was like, I called her up, I was like, Sarah, we gotta have a program where we can like proactively help people, because like
Absolutely.
before they jack themselves up, because so many of our clients are like people who've had issues, and we're like, what if we help them in pregnancy? So it's like fitness and pelvic floor physical therapy in one program, which is awesome.
That is brilliant. Well, thank you again, for everyone wondering. If you have any questions, if you want to see videos, please go follow Ashley's page at Get Mom Strong. We want to be strong mentally, physically, emotionally. We have to, when we feel our best, that is when we're at our best for our children, for our spouses. So, um, thank you so much. Oh, wait, I have one more question before we go. Um, the question is, I'm 38 weeks pregnant. This is my first pregnancy. I'm 25 years old. What are some tips you can give in terms of breathing techniques and body change effects, if you are younger or older? So breathing techniques and body change effects.
Yeah, so it's the same no matter what age you are. And yes, while you are pregnant, you can absolutely start doing the core breathing that I was describing and showing you guys. And again, I've got a whole tab on it on my Instagram story highlights, because that is what's going to help you. It's going to help you even in labor and delivery. So learning to do that breath, and to, I call it hugging the baby. And it's really obvious. It's so cool to watch it in somebody pregnant, because like, you inhale and relax, and it just like lets go of the tummy, and you exhale, and you can actually see the body hug the baby. And learning how to use that deep abdominal system like that is like, it's just awesome, and it's going to help you recover quicker. It's going to help you in your delivery, which, being strong definitely pays. And you're further into your pregnancy, so also working on lengthening your pelvic floor is really important before delivery. So doing like child pose and really breathing, and just focusing on, like, when you inhale, just letting go, because that's going to help you.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions. Thank you again for your time and your patience. We apologize for starting a little late due to technological difficulties, but we got this amazing information out regardless. So,
Thanks for making it happen.
yes, absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, Ashley. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Well, guys, that was Ashley. She definitely gave us some amazing information One, be kind to yourself. If you've already had a baby and you are not back to your pre-baby weight or feeling or shape or size, that is okay. It is normal, okay? So definitely be kind to yourself, and then go visit her page because she has some really great exercises on there, opportunities to learn more on ways to truly, truly change the way you feel and change your body. My name is Ama. Thank you again for tuning in, guys, for overcoming the technological difficulties. You're here, you got the information. Thank you for being loyal to Pregnancy Beyond, and have a wonderful day. Bye.